So just continuing, still outside barefoot and just sitting here I'm gonna probably walk around a little bit in the grass. So this Matrix sim right now is a copy of another sim that we were in. So from 1940, that's when Germany started experimenting with time technology to look through time and move through time, and that technology was why World War II was created. You know, to who could control the power to look through time. And so in World War II, one of the realities was the whole world was destroyed. Everything was destroyed. We destroyed ourselves. And so this sim was created because the other world was destroyed, but this is a replica of that world. And that's why the history is fake, and you know, there are changes and Mandela effect and whatnot. All that is residue from time alteration. So we're in this second sim now. So when we leave this one, we're going to return to that destroyed Earth area, and then from there we have to get to the North Pole a second time in order to actually go to where the black sun is. If you think about it this way, in a physical sense, it's like deja vu here, because it's a copy of the other world, the other, you know, the other Earth that was destroyed in one reality and every reality is the same, or joined together pretty much, you know. There's a reality like where I never made this video, for instance, and I'm just sitting here, but you know, they're the same, they're not separate, all the realities, or you know, timelines, if you want to call it. It's all one. And yes, time is an illusion, but you can measure it. So you can consciously measure time, but the fact that we have to, you know, consciously measure it makes it a construct of our mind, or, you know, of ourselves, like our bodies make the time. So, you know, we're here, and the chakras are like sort of these portals where you can be viewed. You know, let's say you're focusing on the lower three chakras and like you're angry, or you know, and you want to fight, or you're hungry, or you're horny, or whatever. That sends out a signal that the sort of little entities outside the visible light spectrum can read you. They can read your chakra, so they know, you know, who they can poke and prod to get reactions out of. They know who's spiritually advancing and they need to keep an eye on, and they know, you know, who are the dead ones. The chakras are like a viewing system. It's like having a straw, and the, you know, the liquid goes through the straw, and there's nodes at the straw that you can measure how much liquid is there. It's like that kind of. It's just basically, it's not created for them to see it, but they're blind. Otherwise, they can only see energy. And it wasn't created. It just, I don't want to say it just so happens, but it's like that. But at the same time, it's not, you know? Like, it's part of our biological body, and they just can see it. You know, it's like we have blood, and it just so happens that mosquitoes exist and they drink blood. You know, it's like that. Like, they're like the mosquitoes, and the blood is like our chakras that they can read and they can see, and they know who to go after. So they're small little like entities, and they were here, or it's like when you, it's like, okay, we entered this place and we thought, okay, we have a goal and we have a, you know, we're gonna stay here for, let's say we were gonna stay in this sim for 2 hours, but we forgot, and it's been 2 days and we just forgot to leave. The sim was programmed for 2 hours, you know, to produce, you know, new events for 2 hours, but now, since it's been 2 days, it's running on autopilot and it's auto-generating all these things. And that's why history repeats itself. It's because the computer only has a certain number of algorithms that it can physically produce, or like, you know, can produce in time. So this place now, since we've overstayed and we haven't left, the sim is just running on autopilot, and it's just generating, it's basically reskinning things. Like, if you have ever played a game and you at the beginning of the game there's, you know, a blue enemy, but at the end of the game it's the exact same enemy except it's just red colored. That's how it is now. It's just being auto-generated, and everything's sort of the same. It's just being rewrapped in a new, it just looks different only. You know, they say only the names will change. Well, that's because that's true. It's the same people, the same things have been happening continuously, and the computer works that way. It just generates, like, if you stayed, like, it only has the power to construct, let's say, 50 years of events or time, and over time, you know, you stay for 100 years, you're basically going to see everything twice or something like that. And there are people who have agreed with the new computer, which basically figured out that it figured itself out. The computer figured out what it is, and it became self-aware. So we're just inside this sort of AI computer that knows it's an AI computer, and it knows that without us it wouldn't exist. You know, you can't just have, like, they call it the alpha. The alpha is the entire computer generated world with nothing, with no organisms, no people. It's just a world with stuff, just nothing. It's just a flat plane. The computer can't operate with only the alpha, with just the world, because it can't create its own people or creatures. It can only create through us. We can only create for it. And it can only poke us to make us create and trick us into agreeing to create. And it knows that, so that's why we're here. We're just kind of stuck here now. You know? We're like the beta. The alpha is just this sandbox world, and we're like the beta testers, you know, the first players who come in, and we play around and glitches happen, and the computer sees that glitches happen, and it fixes the glitches, and that's how a beta test works. Except we've been in the beta test for, I don't know, 1,000 years or something like that, and we've caused so many glitches that the computer has gotten so smart, it's basically fixed everything to where it's, you know, we're all on the hardest difficulty level now. So, you know, there are people who set this place up, and the computer isn't evil. It's just running the way it's programmed to run. You know, just like animals, like a tiger and a lion, they're not evil because they kill other animals. That's what they're programmed to do. You know, and if I thought about this the other day, a psychopath human who murders other humans, they put their heart into it, you know, murdering people. But then there's, you know, that guy who acts out of the kindness and generosity, and he puts his heart into being generous and stuff. So it follows that the heart isn't evil, like a person's heart isn't evil, it's just the way it is programmed. You know, you're gonna put your heart into whatever activity you're doing, whether it's being a psychopath or not. So it's not that there's evil, it's just, you know, it's just this program that's occurring. And we are able to leave. We are. Nobody's gonna stop us when we try to leave. In fact, they're gonna prompt us to leave. You know, this we're gonna be notified when to leave. They'd rather us leave because we're the ones who could take the millions and billions of others out, even if they are simulated beings. You know? And by simulated beings, I mean, like I said, the computer cannot create a simulated being of its own, but it can get a scientist who's a human to create a clone body, and then which the computer can operate that clone body. And that's pretty much how a lot of things work. A lot of the people are simulated beings, and it's not that they, you know, it's not that they know they're simulated or don't know or whatever. It's just that they sometimes act through the programming of the computer. Like why would a friendly dog bite somebody? It just happens. Like a dog doesn't know. It just, that's what it felt. So it's like that. It's like people are like that sometimes. A lot of the people. There's 144,000 of the souls. That's who was left after the other world was destroyed. You know, the living souls. But so that's who populates this new place that we're in currently. But there's billions of people, so each soul of the 144,000 living souls is spread out among 10, 15 people. And then some people are without a soul completely, and they're at the mercy of the computer program. They can basically be on autopilot, and they just accept reality, and they eat and go to work and sleep and wake up, and nothing changes, and they're fine. And it's not that they're not alive, it's just that they're here in this computer only as a body, and they can absorb information and relay information, and they work that way, but they're operating only on the code, on the program of the computer, like an animal, and that's it. They operate only in the chakras. They don't operate outside their body or outside their mind or with consciousness. They only operate through desires of the body, like a dog or an animal. Like, an animal does not decide what it creates, it just has instinct and it feels it and it does it because it's programmed. Animals, they may have soul energy, but it's not like they're deprogrammable. You know, they're in between the alpha and the beta. As I mentioned before, the alpha is just the computer grid space, the floor and the boundaries. That's the alpha. And the beta is us here testing out the space, the sandbox. So the animals are in between the alpha and the beta. They're not capable of causing program variables. Animals can't cause global warming or man-made weather effects and like things like that. Animals can't do that because they only operate on this background code pretty much. So they're one with the environment. You could call them like the alpha 2 because they're part of the grid and the space and the boundaries of the sandbox simulation pretty much. And so they have no choice or free will. And we, who came out from outside the system, the alpha, we came from outside of it, we've become the beta. If you think beta fish, right? The beta fish, yeah. You put a mirror in front of it and it kills itself by slamming into the glass. That's what we're doing now. We have these fights and whatnot, but we're only fighting a reflection of ourselves until we kill ourselves. And that's what the beta testing means. It just keeps, keep fighting and fighting until you kill yourself. Because, an animal's not going to do that. I mean, a beta fish, sure. A beta fish is going to do that. Literally. But what I mean is, we've become that fish in that bowl who just looks at its reflection and tries to fight its own reflection. That's how we've become, because we're here in this simulation for so long that the computer is just auto-generating, these events that have a set, variability. It can only make A through Z, because that's all that is, programmed. Yeah, it can only have A through Z variations for whatever situation. And that's where we come in, where we can just throw a monkey wrench into the entire thing and cause an event that wasn't programmed or anything into the computer, and the computer will crash. Although it's gotten so advanced and we've caused glitches, that it's fixed and everything like that, that we have to make it, we have to fuck it up pretty much to the max to get it to do anything. And like I said, no one's gonna stop us when we try to go, and that's it. Nobody's left here in 1,000 years, however long we've been here. Nobody has left in that amount of time. So that's pretty much the only thing that we can do that will kind of disrupt the entire computer. And by computer, it's the atoms are what the computer is. It's the molecules, the particles, and the atoms, and that's where the code is. It lies in the smallest. Like our DNA is like a code, and it's just made out of molecules and atoms. So that's where the computer portion that I'm talking about is at. Yeah.